The Last of Us Part 2 continues on in this harrowing, darkened landscape amid infected hordes and hostile factions. Some semblance of humanity attempts to remain as the people strive to survive in this post-apocalyptic world. Episode 1 starts off just after the events of the first season and sets things into motion quickly. The Jackson community was well established in its architecture, building layout, and its denizens. Having Tommy there added to the atmosphere too. He kind of had a homely aura to him, and also added to the complexity of Joel's character too. Having this brother, but also companion, alongside him. Definitely had a connection to Ellie too, helping her along with her growth and her compatibility to this world. This community in Jackson was kind of like some warmth amidst the cold. Speaking of this, I did notice the differing seasonal looks as well, from the winter environments to the spring setting of the cities in the later episodes. Kind of added contrast to the series, different shades and tones. I'll also mention that the environments are very distinct, to the crumbling buildings, to the greenery and plant growth. Also brought up the benefits of community, how much that can affect matters and how life is lived. Having people around you that can protect you and be there for you, especially in such a dangerous situation like this. So you have that camaraderie. In addition, resource gathering, food procurement, survival, defense, ideas. And also notice the mental tribulations that Joel was going through can kind of show the fragility of the mind, especially in this kind of environment. Not only is there the tasks of surviving the upkeep of Jackson, but then you have everything going on in your mind too. So it makes it even more challenging to navigate through these situations in this world. As the infected came about, I have to say how detailed and well done their portrayal was, both in their look and also their mannerisms. Also have to mention the existence of past locations in this current setting, like the supermarket and how interesting these locales can look and be explored. Other trademarks have incorporated this happening as well, to great effect. Also have to mention the New Year's Eve dance, and how it showed to me the quality of the game scenes, and how well they were constructed, and how little difference there was in the show scenes as compared to the originals. The tendrils can show how easy it is for things to get out of hand, how things such as the cordyceps virus can adapt, and how unrelenting it can be. Episode 2, Abby, was well enacted. Really brought about the theme of perspective. The game in the show really illustrates this and the difficulties of this world, such as the hospital sequence. Really bringing to the forefront difficult situations that can come about with perhaps some slight parallels to other similar situations. At least bringing to mind what the viewer would do in this particular circumstance. The awakening of the infected horde really showcased well the full extent of the danger at their doorsteps. The viewer really got the sense of a hidden threat just being on the peripheries, out of view, but still there. So there was a slight feeling of safety, but in the back of their minds, not really knowing when things could change. The battle was cool and incorporated a lot of varied elements, such as the differing weaponries, like the rifles, the flamethrowers, the barrels, not to mention the scope of it, the tension and the location, it being in a settlement or town, also in the winter conditions. The episode also showcased kind of the interconnectivity of everything, like the inclusion of Abby's father, being the doctor that Joel encountered. Oftentimes, I get this feeling too of how small the world can seem sometimes, and all the connections that are around us. The finale of this episode was as impactful as it was in the game, really changing the whole narrative from that instance onward. Episode 3 displayed the WLF and the factions. Not to say that the factions were an intriguing addition to the series, and differed in their own ways. The WLF seemed more militaristic, whereas the Seraphites were more tribalistic. The town hall meeting showed all the differing viewpoints, how difficult it can be to reach agreement, all the concordant voices. Also brought up the theme of revenge and how much it weaved around so many people and events that took place, especially in The Last of Us Part 2. Dina was well portrayed. Really brought some levity to the atmosphere. It was a nice addition to Ellie's character. They had good chemistry, or worked well off of each other. They complemented each other well. They shared similar attributes with slight variation, such as their frivolity, but also their toughness. In the scenes when they were on horseback, I noticed a sense of exploration and adventure, of journey, which really added to my viewing experience. Kind of provided another layer or element to the show, amid the other more grim happenings of other places and events. This also brought up in my mind the intricacies of crafting a series from a game and the many aspects to it. For example, turning gameplay into show scenes, like when you're playing as Ellie and you're sneaking around a Fedra base, scavenging for parts, taking out some enemies here and there, how do you adjust that to fit into series parameters? What do you take out or adjust to account for this change? I do have to say, though, that Naughty Dog's style of game already kind of lends itself well to the storytelling nature of film and shows. Naughty Dog is very well versed and pristine at creating these experiences for sure. Coming from the rundown streets of Jak and Daxter to exploring the jungles and navigating moving trains in Uncharted. Really looking forward to what their forthcoming IP is going to be. Episode 4 fully introduces Isaac Dixon, a faction leader of the WLF. Show the complexity of the factions, the world, the time periods, for example, with the evolution of Fedra. Also showcase the shifting of the world, how unstable everything is, and how it could be. Speaking of the factions, the Seraphites were visceral and portrayed their brutality, not only from them, but in the world at large, in full. The guitar scene did stand out to me in the game, too. I'm glad that I ran into it while exploring. It provided moments of sentimentality and softness, a drastic change to the surrounding situations and atmosphere. And I also remember the theater quite well. The series did a fantastic job of recreating it, from its spacious lobby to the seats and stage of its interiors. Episode 5 showed just how varied the infected are and have become. It really shows the creativity and the possibilities of what an infected horde like this could look like. I mean, you got the main horde, you have the clickers, then now you have the stalkers and the others, all with their own unique capabilities and attributes. I'll mention Jesse as well. He kind of had a protective aura about him. Added some complexity to the Ellie and Dina relationship, but it was also cool how he didn't really get in the way of it too much. He was just kind of doing his own thing, and even rescued them on occasion, so it just seemed like an overall cool guy. Ellie, again, showcases the full scope of her character and what she goes through. I also noticed in full her inner determination amidst her other attributes. For example, when she goes out on a motorboat on her own to try to track down Abby. Definitely shows how certain circumstances can affect people and change them, make them do certain things that they normally wouldn't do, like when Ellie is beaten down a member of the WLF faction. This could also translate to our world too, perhaps not to so great a degree, but in similar situations or circumstances. Something to perhaps be aware of when dealing with people and the world around us. Did enjoy the factions, for example, the WLF members. It was really fleshed out with the different characters and all the castings and their conversations and scenes. It really brought to life these organizations, which in turn expanded the world and immersion. Episode 6 incorporated the flashbacks, really expanding the characters of Joel and Ellie and what transpired through the years. I'm sure some happenings could be relatable to some of the viewers watching. Really showcase the challenges of close connection and family. Also, the erosion of these connections. Here I'll mention Joel, and how, again, his portrayal is well orchestrated. Pedro Pascal brings his usual qualities to the role and really capture the essence of Joel well. His ruggedness, his toughness, and his humanity. He really seems to be getting a lot of roles, which is of no surprise to me. Really seems to have become a focal point in the industry. The atmosphere does stand out here and really portrays the feelings of disconnection, separation. I'll also mention here the overall feeling of a lot of The Last of Us Part 2, both the game and the series, really affected me unlike many other pieces of content has before. For example, when I was playing through it and also watching it, I would get this feeling of uneasiness or an unsettled feeling, also coupled with a general feeling of sadness. It was hard to pinpoint exactly what it was, but it was there. It could be the hyper-realistic nature of the content and perhaps also what occurs in the general atmosphere. But I remember that feeling when I was playing through it and also when watching. It also brings about the somewhat degradation of Joel's character. He really has a heartbreaking story. It's also worth noting that he lost his birth daughter too, way back at the beginning of The Last of Us Part 1. And so this could really affect his choices and what he does and his continued connection with Ellie. And just how drastically and significantly the events around him has affected him too. Episode 7. I remember the aquarium well when playing through the game. Getting there, exploring the exterior, trying to get in, and then making my way through the interior rooms, looking at all the displays that were set about. Again, this part shows Ellie's drive to setting out to fulfill what she has set out to do. Also incorporates the idea of perspective and how things can merge together during certain times and even between these hostile factions. The theater finale was well directed, from the build up to the conversation near the stage and then when events transpire. Really fulfilled the impact and significance of a finale or significant moment, how some things can happen, the tone, the realistic nature of the piece. The stadium scene was cool to witness, from the construction of it to the angle of the shot, the grandness of it. Also really portrayed just how in-depth the game really was, how all this can happen and it's seemingly just halfway through. As I saw it on the screen, it reminded me of its presence within the game. Really looking forward to this area of the narrative and the continuing events and occurrences that have yet to be shown. In conclusion, The Last of Us Part 2 portrays a dark, grim, ultra-realistic telling of a post-apocalyptic world, with deep character connections, infected hordes, settlement battles, and sentimental moments. The events really take the characters to their utmost limits, really showcasing an emotional and impactful narrative. The Last of Us Part 2 continues on as Ellie and her companionship attempt to navigate an infected landscape.